Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest This is the Music Meets podcast. For episode 73, I'm delighted to be joined by Billobuckers, an exciting and emerging indie band from Leicester, and ones that I'm personally a big fan of. Over the course of today's episode, we're going to discuss the band's 3 single releases, playing live, and much more. So I'm delighted to be joined by Billobuckers frontman Billy. Billy, welcome along to the This is the Music Meets podcast. It's an absolute privilege to have you on. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad, mate. I'm sound quite, to be fair. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm glad that the weather's not as hot because I've been melting the last few days.
Oh, yeah,
Just a little
definitely.
bit cooler down here, which is pretty good.
So we got Ray Scar today, so I'm well happy.
Great stuff. We're never happy, are we, unless we're having a moan about the weather, are we, to be fair? So long may that continue.
The
So
English
as
way.
as I said there in the intro, obviously you put out 3 singles today. We're going to come on to that a little bit later on in the podcast. But what I'd really like to know is really to sort of like really go back right to the very beginning. Like what's your earliest musical memory like from growing up?
It's a good question, to be fair. It's got to be like hearing Stone Roses or something in the car
Yeah.
and seeing Oasis on the telly and that. Because my music upbringing was like quite different between my mum and dad. So my dad was quite well into his Motown and Northern Soul and that. And then my mum was well into her 90s and like she played anything like the Charlatans, Happy Mondays, Oasis, Stone Roses.
Yeah, sure. But there's that's a pretty good beginning, really, to be perfectly honest. And obviously for those that are watching us on our YouTube channel, obviously see the little Liam post that you got there in the back. I don't blame you at all. So kind of
Yeah,
like
it's a Don't
then,
Look Back in Anger one. That
yeah, that's
famous
it.
song that he sung.
Yeah, looks class. That does, I have to say. So kind of like then those bands there that you've just mentioned from like the 90s, the Oasis and the Charlatans, etc. Were they? But are they sort of who inspired you to pick up a guitar, or was it like something from school, or what was it for you?
I can't really remember, to be fair. I played guitar since I was about 10,
Right.
which just sort of like I stumbled across it in my house sort of thing. I think I wanted one for Christmas or something, so mum and dad got it me, and then it just sort of like carried on from there. And we had a little guitar club in primary school, so I just learned everything then,
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah. Sure. And can you remember maybe like the first, like maybe like proper song that you learned to play on the guitar?
I'm pretty sure it was Jingle Bells. I'm pretty 75% sure it was Jingle Bells.
I'm not going to ask you what time of year that was. I assume it was round about Christmas. That would have been a bit weird if it was end of school term or something.
No, it could have been in the summer, mate, for all I know. Long time ago that was.
Yeah, definitely. So, can you also as well remember maybe like sort of sticking with this theme of like earliest musical memories? Can you
Yeah.
remember maybe like the first gig that you ever went to?
I'm going to say I was about 8 years old. I went to go watch a Leicester band with my oldest brother Joe. We called The Screening.
Right,
And their lead guitarist was actually like my guitar teacher in school.
right, okay.
So it just sort of like all come full circle.
Yeah, yeah. And wow, it's a fantastic memory, and obviously getting to always good in it to go with a family member as well for that first gig.
Yeah,
So obviously, Billobuckers, you sort of really exploded onto the indie scene at the start of
yeah.
this year. Obviously with the release of the debut single, "It'll Be All Right." But just sort of maybe going back just ever so slightly before that, how long had the band been? How long had the band been together at that point?
Uh, to be fair, the band's only been going since January.
Right.
Really, our first gig was January, but I've been doing it acoustic for a good couple of years now.
Yeah.
I think I think
Sure.
I think I had them songs for about a year.
Yeah. And sure. And the other band members, how did how did they get involved in being part of Billobuckers?
Well, I knew me drummer for quite a while. I think I met him back in college. To be fair, And I can't remember how I knew me bassist, and I can't tell you where I met him, how I knew him. I just knew him. Then like I completely forgot he existed. They were just sort of like, mate, you play bass, don't you? You fancy joining us? Because me and my brother for ages just got going back and forth and trying to figure everything out. I was sort of sat there in rehearsal space, and she went, mate, we can't get along with an acoustic guitar and a set of drums. You know what I mean? They don't sound right.
Yeah, yeah,
And from Callum somehow just through Instagram that I knew him. He brought along Alistair, our lead guitarist, because they go uni together. They were just dead lucky that like all of us sort of like hit it off and just like merged together, sort of thing.
yeah, sure. And do you kind of like then prefer that, sort of that band dynamic rather than, you just saying there that you had these songs all acoustically? Is that your, preferred way of doing it?
I'm still sort of the same now, to be fair. So I'll still sit at home every now and again, pick up my guitar and just sort of see what I write. And I think that's how like most of my songs come about. But then when we get the band together, sort of thing, it's like Alistair will play something on guitar, which is like a chord progression I would never even have thought of. As like I've got something written for it for the next week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Well, it's certainly, and do you think as well, like obviously up until this point, you've obviously been, doing well, practically everything, I guess, effectively, writing the lyrics and all of that sort of stuff. Do you think maybe in the future that you might be open to one of the other band members saying, "Hey, Bill, I've got this song. What do you think?" and laying that down as an alternative type of thing, or is it not quite ready for that yet?
Uh, I don't think they've got the English abilities, to be fair, to be able to piece it together. You'll hear it every Wednesday. We have band practice. It's like, Bill, write something, do something. I can't do it. And then we had some the other week where this shows you my lead guitarist absolute expertise of the English language. I think one of his strings went out of tune or something. And he went, stop, wait, carry on. Just in a heat of the moment, it's like, mate, which one do you want us to do? You know what I mean?
Brilliant. Well, at least it was in band practice and not halfway through a gig or something like that, because that could have been that could have been quite interesting.
I'm normally the one who makes the mistakes live, so it's fine.
So obviously you've just released Sweat and Alco Pops, which like the
Yeah.
two previous singles is obviously an absolute banger, and I'll play it virtually every day, to be fair. I can't get enough of it. And it obviously for those that haven't heard it yet, obviously tells a story of a night out. Is that based on a personal experience, or is it maybe something that you might have like observed with like a group of friends or something?
It's a bit of an amalgamation of a lot of nights out, to be brutally honest.
Yeah,
It's just like constant one after another. And I wrote it by accident, to be honest with you.
yeah,
Wrote it by complete accident. Literally picked the guitar up. I can't remember what I was gonna do, but I was gonna do something else. I wrote the riff and then wrote the pre-chorus and the chorus. So it was like the smell of sweat and alcohol pops all over. That was the first bit that came to me. And it was sort of like the next few days was just sort of sat there. Like, it's the best thing I ever wrote. Got more to it.
brilliant, great stuff. And what is the drink then that's gonna be the one that gets you in a bit of bother on the night out?
Uh, good question. I don't really stick to one, to be fair.
Any,
Don't really stick to one.
anything you can get your hands on.
I see it normally starts off on Guinness and then it ends up on gin or something daft. You know what I mean?
Great stuff. A night out with you sounds like it could be very, very messy. And obviously, where you're from, is I'm guessing is obviously written from about from like living in Leicester. I mean, is it fair to say that you're quite obviously proud of living there, and do you think that it could work, like in any other city, or is it very much a, sort of a song that is specific for Leicester?
I don't really think it's a town specific thing, to be fair, because it's not really. It don't really point out anything major in Leicester, so it's not like
Yeah.
sat there singing about the clock tower or whatever or Foss Park or something daft. It was literally just, I can't even tell you what it's about, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
well,
just it just fell into place.
Yeah, no, okay, that's quite interesting. I guess maybe just, I guess that's the beauty of music, just people sort of
Yeah,
interpretations and stuff, really. So, yeah, no, that's quite interesting. So, let's talk to you about Glastonbury. Obviously, the festival was held just over the past few days and stuff.
yeah,
And I understand that you managed to catch a little bit of the Rick Astley and the Blossoms sort of performing Smith's songs, which until I flicked it on myself, I didn't actually realise that's what they were
yeah.
doing. I mean that doesn't sound like a combination that you'd hear very often, is it?
I, I think Rick Astley just stole your weekend. To be fair, it's a bit of a guilty pleasure for me.
Yeah, there's been quite a few people saying that about him. Actually, to be fair,
You can't beat a bit. They're never going to give you up. You know what I mean?
absolutely, definitely. And was there obviously we said there with doing the Blossoms, sort of well, I don't know what you'd call it, like duet? No, not a duet, but you know what I mean, like a guest appearance with them type of
Yeah.
thing. Was there a particular song of the Smiths that they covered that you thought, yeah, do you know what, you've absolutely nailed that?
I think it's one of the best versions of this charming man I've ever heard. To be fair,
Right.
but
Okay.
it does
Wow.
make me laugh how the Blossoms have got about two or three guitarists and they still can't sound like Johnny Marr.
Yeah, that's a pretty good achievement, isn't it? To be fair. It is, and obviously there's as we touched on in the beginning. Obviously you're an Oasis fan, and obviously
Yeah,
there's a few rumours flying around that maybe they might be getting back together, and that they're going to go and
yeah.
play Glastonbury next year, his 30th anniversary, and that of definitely maybe. Do you think that's
Yeah,
going to happen, or do you think that's just bet the bookies just trying to take people's money quite easily?
I think it's definitely the bookie's fault. I think it's definitely the bookie's fault. Been hearing about it for years, isn't you? Liam and Noel have been texting each other all this, that, and the other, and they're getting back together next year. Rumours
Yeah.
are like doing Nebworth all over again. I just don't pay attention to it anymore, to be fair.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you're right. And obviously, as you touched on Nebworth, I mean, Liam's doing pretty all right for himself anyway. And he's 70, was it
Definitely.
70,000 people over 2 nights? You
Yep.
know, there's
I
an
was one of them.
there's an argument that he doesn't need Noel, which probably no one would ever have thought saying that after obviously after Oasis split. To be fair, I didn't think I'd ever
Yeah.
say it either, to be honest. But there you go. Obviously coming back on then to Billobuckers, obviously headlined the Firebug in Leicester. It's a venue that I've not ever
Yeah.
been to myself, but I've heard quite a lot about it. Obviously, it's quite an important venue for sort of like grassroots
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
music in Leicester. So kind of like from the videos that I've seen of the gig, it looked like it was a fantastic night. Um, how was it from your perspective?
It was absolutely mental, mate. To be fair, I was really shocked by it. Really, really shocked by it. The
Obviously,
fact of
in good
I
shocked in
couldn't
a
believe
good
how
way. Yeah,
filled you got shocked. Yeah, definitely, definitely. I just couldn't believe how quick the room filled.
yeah.
So it's like every single support band we had on somehow filled the room and then emptied it when they come off. Then the next one comes on, filled it, emptied it when they come off. And like, by the time like it got to us coming around, it was sort of like there's no one left in the room. There's no one left in the room. We'll set up and that. I rolled myself a fag, thinking like
Yeah.
I'll go out for this in 2 minutes, sound no problem. And the minute like I plugged my amp in, I could just hear all this chattering and I turned back round, whole room just full.
Wow. Wow. That must be a buzz to see that as well.
And I think my brother was stood by the front. I literally turned around to like, I ain't got time for that fag, have I? No chance to have.
And are there like any like pre-gig rituals or any sort of like nerves at all before the gigs? I mean, obviously maybe a little bit of apprehension there that maybe they weren't going to fit out for you. Just saying there.
Uh, not particularly, to be fair. Not particularly. There's nothing, mate. I have a bit of a drink and a bit of a smoke and that before. I just get stuck in. I do. Treat it
Yeah.
like a night out, which I think it's well to.
And there definitely ain't nothing wrong, definitely wrong with that at all. And obviously, you've also got a pretty big gig coming up with friends of the show, Gazelle, on the 15th of July
Yeah.
at the OMC in Leicester. Is this your first outdoor gig, obviously as a band. And for those that are going to be coming along, what can they expect from your set?
It's not our first outdoor gig, to be fair. We did the OMC the other week,
Right.
about a month ago now, I think it was. But unfortunately, our guitarist is on holiday, so we're gonna have to do it as a three piece. So
Right. Okay.
it's still gonna be quite as messy. Don't worry.
Yeah, you can't be booking holidays during the middle of, in the middle of summer now. Those days are gone, mate. Get commitment to the band. That's what we want to see.
That's just it. It was a case of like he had it booked before he joined the band, so we sort of had to honour it and sort of go, yeah, you know what, mate, fair play, can't fault it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, fair enough to him there, and kind of like then obviously saying there's going to be a free piece. Do you know? Obviously, you've put 3 singles out so far to date. Is there going to be
Yep.
anything else sort of coming out? Either before that gig, after the gig, to sort of keep the obviously keep the momentum going that you've built upon so far.
Honestly, mate, I ain't got a clue. We're completely winging it as far as releases and that go. Literally, we're not organised at all. So there might be something before, there might be something after. Who knows? Who knows?
It sounds like it could be a surprise to yourself if something was
Oh,
suddenly
yeah,
released.
definitely, definitely. We're quite gig heavy at the minute, so we're just focusing on that more than anything else.
Yeah, sure. Which I guess is obviously getting you new, like releasing new music, and that is obviously great. But I guess the you know, getting out and actually playing in front of people is probably
Yeah.
no substitute. I guess really. So kind of like then just sticking with the festival, not festival, but the gig type of theme sort of thing. Really. We're going to
Yeah.
let you decide on 5 bands that you could put on Billobuckers, your own sort of festival, you're organising your own gig. What bands would you be looking to come along with you? And they can be anything. They can be
Uh,
unsigned. They can be, legendary bands, whatever you want.
a lot of them are probably outshiners, mate. To be honest with you, um, it'd be rude not to say Oasis. To be fair,
Yeah,
it'd be rude not to say Stone Roses.
yeah. This is sounding good. Very good.
I'm trying to think of something that's not 90s now, so I can't really tie it all in. I probably have Catfish in a Bottle, men.
Nice. Yeah. Like them.
The DMAs, they're definite.
Yeah.
And then probably the Arctic Monkeys or something, to be fair. Maybe Jamie T, actually.
Yeah, have you? I haven't heard it, but I've seen that he's put a new single out today. Actually, Jamie T. Have you heard it?
No, I've not, to be fair. I
Oh,
spent the day cleaning, and I have.
yeah, going to be on my list of things I think to try and do in the next day or so. So obviously, as you know, here at This Is the Music, we like to shine a light on unsigned bands and artists like Billobuckers who are trying to establish
Yep.
themselves on the new music scene. So, kind of like then over the last 12 months or so, what sort of bands or artists have you been listening to?
Uh, it's all been ones we've done gigs with, to be fair.
Yeah,
So it's like we're quite lucky. We're just sort of taking like every sort of gig we can at the minute. Anything that gets offered to us, we'll have it. So it's like they've disbanded now, but I quite like Missing Andy.
right, okay, yeah.
We did a gig with them a couple of months back, and then there's a lad from Bradford called Red Shakes who
Yes,
absolutely brilliant.
yeah, he's great. Yeah,
Caphonics from where we're from, they're half decent, to be fair. They're pretty good. Quite like 60s rock and roll turned up to 10. It's right on my street sort of thing, you know what I mean?
yeah. No, nice. Yeah, it sounds good. I have to check them out myself.
Other than that, I'd probably say Gazelle as well, to be fair.
Yeah, well, four fantastic choices there, and yeah, certainly a couple that I'm familiar with, and probably a couple as well to go and check out as well. But where would you say where do you think you're going to see Billobuckers within like over the next sort of 5 years? What's the is there like an end goal or something like that that you want to have like achieved like anything in particular?
I'm not too sure, mate. To be fair, it'd be all well and good if we could sit there and say like we'll do stadium gigs in 5 years, but we're doing Wembley, mate. But like, the band sort of started by accident. You know what I mean? This anything's a bonus for me.
Yeah,
Anything.
yeah, sure. I mean, would you as well? Like, obviously, so far you've put out the songs have obviously been released on on streaming platforms only. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
would you think about maybe trying to get something out on, like, say, a vinyl, or maybe like a CD or something in that, like, in the future, like maybe an EP type of thing?
Uh,
Is
we
that
do CDs for a bit. To be fair,
yeah,
every sort of thing we do, we take like an handful of CDs with us.
yeah,
But everyone keeps asking us for vinyl and that. It's expensive, man. It's expensive.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
got it. If we did do it, it'd be like a limited release sort of thing. So it's sort of like we're not losing too much, but at the same time, if there's push for it, like we'll have it. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, definitely. I've seen a few people have been sort of limiting it, which is kind of like what you're saying, to like around about 100 copies type of thing
Yeah,
to like make it work. Which I think that might be the minimum order. So I guess,
yeah,
yeah, that if you can get that sold, then yeah, then great. Otherwise, if not, it's back to the drawing board,
yeah,
unfortunately.
exactly that.
So kind of
Last thing
like
I
with
want to do is be sat with a box of like 100 odd vinyl in my bedroom corner. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be able to face it.
Yeah, no, that probably wouldn't be part of the plan, I guess. It's obviously kind of like we've obviously spoken a little bit about what Billobuckers have been doing so far in 2023. But
Yeah.
what other but you mentioned as well that you've maybe got like a few gigs that may be in the pipeline. Have you got anything sort of concrete, any concrete plans at all lined up for that you're going to be getting out there to do?
Uh, we're doing something called Rush Fest this weekend.
Right, okay, yeah.
I think after that, that'd be the Gazelle gig next. After that, the OMC gig. And then now I think we're shooting for something big towards September, October sort of time as well, which would be like an hometown sort of thing.
Yeah.
But other than that, we're just chancing it here, there, and everywhere, more than anything. Wait till
Brilliant. Well, you're definitely a little bit better. You're saying they're chancing it. You're definitely not chancing it at all, because you've got a fantastic little thing going. Well, I say little thing, a big thing going on. To be fair, and as I say, I've been absolutely loving what I've seen. Oh, sorry, heard, I should say, so far. But just going to throw a couple more sort of quick fire questions at you now. First of all,
Yeah,
if I was to give you a musical time machine, what era of music would you like to be transported back to?
that's a question and a half. Question and a half. Probably the late 80s, like early 90s sort of time. To be fair,
Right. Okay. Yeah. Is there any particular reason why for that?
we got to think 89. You had Stone Roses come out with their debut, and then about a year after that, you had the Happy Mondays making their debut, then the Charlatans, and then you catch like the start of Oasis as well. It's like that. I don't think you can beat that first 5 years of like the 90s.
Yeah, that's yeah. To be fair, that's a very, very yeah. It's actually when you're saying it now, just going through the yeah, bloody hell, do you know what I mean? Like, wow,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
quite easy to yeah, not forget, but yeah, I guess I'm old. But and also as well, if you could go on any TV show as a contestant, what show would you go on and why?
Good question. Good question. Probably Tipping Point.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Probably
I don't
Tipping
watch that
Point.
enough. I do like it when I watch it. It's pretty good, that.
It'd just be a complete shot in the dark for me. It just reminds me of a bit of going to Skeggy with a tub full of pennies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there is definitely a bit of that feel about that going on, isn't there?
I bet you wouldn't even get half the questions right either. I just guess.
Yeah, I'd be all right if it was multiple when it's the multiple choice bit. I'd be all right with that, and if I can physically see
Oh yeah, definitely.
the answer,
Just take a
I'd be
shot in
all
the
right.
dark and pick B and hope for the best.
That's it. If you're just saying it to me, forget it. I'll keep going. what were the choices? You know, assuming not if they give me like any hints or anything like that, and knowing that ain't going to happen. So yeah, there you go. Billy, that is the end of the This Is the Music Meets Billobuckers podcast. Thanks so much for coming on and
No problem at all, mate. No
sharing
problem at all.
sharing the story up to this point. It's been really interesting, and so I've really enjoyed it. But before I do let you go, can you just let the listeners know the social media platforms that they can find Billobuckers on?
So we're pretty much Billobuckers on everything, to be fair. It ain't hard to find us. We are the only one that exists.
There you go. And we will include those links in the episode bio as well for everyone to find you and obviously to get streaming the three singles that you put out to date. And obviously, as we've said in this podcast, the new single from Billobuckers, Sweat and Alco Pops, is out now on all streaming and download platforms. It's a fantastic track. And I highly recommend that you go and give it a listen. Billy, thanks again for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it. And I wish you continued success with the singles that you put out, obviously the gigs that you've got coming up as well. It certainly sounds like it's a really interesting and exciting time for you.
So, mate, nice one.
And all that leaves me to say is to thank everyone for listening to the latest This Is the Music Meets podcast. Please subscribe so you never miss out on any future episodes. And if you're loving the podcast, then please leave us a 5-star rating and written review, as it does really help the bands and artists we interview to be discovered. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again for the next episode very soon.